Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the show. My name is Bubba. I'm going to bring you a little video I watched years ago. It's about an ex-KGB agent that uh, uh, came uh, came to America and did an interview on, I believe it was CBS. And he's talking about indoctrinating a nation to communism. And I found it interesting because I had watched another interview of an agent that worked for Gorbachev in a military base called the Presidio out in San Francisco, California. And the man was talking about how America would fall from within and be destroyed from within because they couldn't beat America militarily, just could not. And it would decay it from inside and would be beat financially. And at that time, it was during the era of McCartherism, where General MacArthur was eradicating Marxists around the country in colleges where they were indoctrinating youth in college into Markxism. Okay? They were indoctrinating our youth in colleges. And that's gone on for many years, even though they stopped it for a while. But indoctrination is continued. We see it in our schools, in our colleges, how they've been indoctrinated. They don't educate our kids, they indoctrinate them. And it shows today. And you'll see in this video exactly what I'm trying to get across. So without further ado, I hope you like this video. Hit the like button, subscribe, leave a comment. And if you don't want to stick around throughout the whole show, give me a like, share it, give me a finger, let me know what sucks. If there's anything you like, hey, help me grow the channel, get the word out, because it applies to every American. I don't care what party you belong to, what you support. I don't care if you don't like me, it's all about what's going on, ladies and gentlemen. We got to wake up to this. Without further ado, let's get into this and see what you think. Okay, let's switch it over.
The other 85% is a slow process, which we call either ideological subversion or active measures, активные мероприятия in the language of the KGB, or psychological warfare. What it basically means is to change the perception of reality of every American to such an extent that despite of the abundance of information, no one is able to come to sensible conclusions in the interests of defending themselves, their families, their community, and their country. It's a great brainwashing process which goes very slow, and it's divided in 4 basic stages. The first one being demoralization. It takes from 15 to 20 years to demoralize a nation. Why that?
Demoralizing a nation. Demoralizing a nation. Yeah, we used to have morals in this country. Where'd they gone? We don't have any. They're almost non-existent.
That many years, because this is the minimum number of years which requires to educate one generation of students in the country of your enemy, exposed to the ideology of the enemy. In other words, Marxism-Leninism ideology is being pumped into the soft heads of at least 3 generations of American students without being challenged or counterbalanced by the basic values of Americanism, American patriotism. The result you can see. Most of the people who graduated in the 60s, dropouts or half-baked intellectuals, are now occupying the positions of power in the government, civil service, business, mass media, educational system. You are stuck with them. You cannot get rid of them. They are contaminated. They are programmed to think and react to certain stimuli in a certain pattern. You cannot change their mind, even if you expose them to authentic information, even if you prove that white is white and black is black, you still cannot change the basic perception and the logic of behavior. In other words, these people, the process of demoralization is complete and irreversible. To get rid society of these people, you need another 20 or 15 years to educate a new generation of patriotically minded and common sense people who would be acting in favor and in the interests of the United States society.
And yet these people who've been programmed and, as you say, in place and
Yes.
who are favorable to an opening with the Soviet concept, these are the very people who would be marked for extermination in this country?
Most of them, yes. Simply because the psychological shock when they will see in future what the beautiful society of equality and social justice means in practice, obviously they will revolt. They will be very unhappy, frustrated people. And the Marxist-Leninist regime does not tolerate these people. Obviously they will join the links of dissenters, dissidents.
Yes.
Are you hearing that? Are you hearing? They will not tolerate those people, and those people are us. You know, the ones that believe in freedom. You know, live and let live. They don't like us. They don't like us because we question them. You know, amazing.
Unlike in present United States, there will be no place for dissent in future Marxist-Leninist America. Here you can get popular like Daniel Ellsberg and filthy rich like Jane Fonda for being dissident, for criticizing your Pentagon. In future, these people will be simply squashed like cockroaches. Nobody is going to pay them nothing for their beautiful, noble ideas of equality. This they don't understand, and it will be a greatest shock for them, of course. The demoralization process in the United States is basically completed already. For the last 25 years. Actually, it's overfulfilled because demoralization now reaches such areas.
But you know, the amazing fact, people, is that what we call dissenters, you know, in the beginning, you know, like Jane Fonda, they became heroes. But when full Marxism takes over, like you said, they'll be squashed because they'll no longer need them because they serve their purpose. They'll no longer need them because they'll already have full control over you. And the ones that used them, you know, the ones that rose to political power, they'll no longer need them anymore. Right? Hollywood will shrink. They'll have that certain little few, you know. It's like the union, right? The union keeps the majority out so the few inside make more money, right? And so many people always believe that the unions are so great. I used to be a card carrier, right? And I found, and it was amazing when we got into a discussion in a college program that I was taking for electrical, and we got talking about unions, you know, and the instructor brought that up, you know, and that's where we got to the conclusion that's how unions function. That, you know, American made, union made. Well, you know, there's union makers that make just as good quality stuff and make a good wage, but they don't have to pay all them union dues and kiss the union's ass, you know, and the union members get them to vote the way they want because they're in the pockets of politicians to get votes. So when you start digging into it, you find all this corruption, and it's all used for your votes. But pretty soon, when these Marxists take over, your votes matter not. Because like the Russians say, it doesn't matter what the votes are. It matters who counts the votes. And you've seen it in the last election, the presidential election. It matters who counts the votes and who owns the media. Okay, let's keep going.
where previously not even Comrade Andropov and all his experts would even dream of such a tremendous success. Most of it is done by Americans to Americans, thanks to lack of moral standards. As I mentioned
Moral
before,
standards.
exposure to true information does not matter anymore. A person who was demoralized is unable to assess true information. The facts tell nothing to him. Even if I shower him with information, with authentic proof, with documents, with pictures, even if I take him by force to the Soviet Union and show him concentration camp, he will refuse to believe it until...
And you see that. You see that. You come up with all this proof. Like what's going on over in Israel right now. All these people are protesting in the United States about Israel, killing all these innocent babies. Hamas hides behind all these children. And when you bring up all these facts to show that Hamas trained, these Palestinians trained their children to hate Jews, how to kill Jews as a young age. They got cartoons that teach these kids that. They teach them kill the Jews. I watched the video of these kids walking down the street. It's like us when we were kids. We played cowboys and Indians, remember? You know, and nobody wanted to be the cowboys. As white kids, we wanted to be the Indian, you know? And the Indian kids always wanted to be the cowboy, you know? I grew up with around nothing but Indian kids and Mexican kids. And my black friends, you know? We all got along. But we always wanted to play the other kid, you know? But I watch these, this little kid jumps out from behind the corner. He had a play knife and he stabs these kids that are supposed to be the Jews. Stabbing them, you know? That's what they're taught. And they would give their life to kill a Jew. And then they hide their weapons inside schools, mosques, hospitals, you know? So, and then when they went in and killed all these innocent kids, elderly, and women, and took them hostages over into Hamas, into Palestine, they hid them in public buildings. So, but then the Jews, gave them warnings that, you know, get out of there, get your women and children out, you know, and gave them, 3, 4, 5 days to get out of there? But what did they do? Hamas tells them you can't leave. They kept them from leaving. They hide behind their children. But these kids and these, so many of them that did want to get out, couldn't get out, but so many of them would be martyred. I gave my child, I watched a Palestinian father tell his kid to go towards the soldiers and pick up a rock and throw him at it so that his kid would be shot by the Jew so that he could be martyred and they could turn around and show the world that the Jews shot his kid. But, you know, even when you see this, these wackadoos blame the Jew. Now, I'm not saying I don't want to see kids die on either side, okay? And when Trump said this, you know, like the same thing goes for Ukraine. You know, oh, you favored, you know, you don't care about Ukraine's dying. And that, you know, he said he wanted to see the killings on both sides stop. But the media runs with, you know, he loves one side over the other. Wait a minute. These are the people that are supposed to be reporting the news. And they pick one side over the other. You know, war is a... Well, let's get back into this.
He is going to receive a kick in his fat bottom. When a military boot crashes then he will understand, but not before that. That's the tragic of the situation of demoralization. So basically America is stuck with demoralization, and unless, even if you start right now, here, this minute, you start educating new generation of Americans, it will still take you 15 to 20 years to turn the tide of ideological perception of reality back to normalcy and patriotism. The next stage is destabilization. This time, subverter does not care about your ideas and the patterns of your consumption. Whether you eat junk food and get fat and flabby, it doesn't matter anymore. This time, and it takes only from 2 to 5 years to destabilize a nation, what matters is essentials: economy, foreign relations, defense systems. And you can see it quite clearly that in some areas, in such sensitive areas as defense and economy, the influence of Marxist-Leninist ideas in the United States is absolutely fantastic. I could never believe it 14 years ago when I landed in this part of the world that the process will go that fast. The next stage, of course, is crisis. It may take only up to 6 weeks to bring a country to the verge of crisis. You can see it in Central America now. And after crisis, with a violent change of power, structure, and economy, you have so-called the period of normalization. It may last indefinitely. Normalization is a cynical expression borrowed from Soviet propaganda. When the Soviet tanks moved into Czechoslovakia in '68, Comrade Brezhnev said, "Now the situation in brotherly Czechoslovakia is normalized." This is what will happen in the United States if you allow all these schmucks to bring the country to crisis, to promise people all kind of goodies and the paradise on earth, to destabilize your economy, to eliminate the principle of free market competition, and to put a big brother government in Washington, D.C., with benevolent dictators like Walter Mondale, who will promise lots of things, never mind whether the promises are fulfillable or not. He will go to Moscow to kiss the bottoms of new generation of Soviet assassins. Never mind. He will create false illusions that the situation is under control. Situation is not under control. Situation is disgustingly out of control. Most of the American politicians, media, and educational system trains another generation of people who think they are living at a peacetime. False. The United States is in the state of war, undeclared total war against the basic principles and the foundations of this system. And the initiator of this war is not Comrade Andropov, of course. It's the system. However ridiculous it may sound, the world communist system or the world communist conspiracy, whether I scare some people or not, I don't give a hoot. If you are not scared by now, nothing can scare you. But you don't have to be paranoid about it. What actually happens now, that unlike myself, you have literally several years to live on unless the United States wake up. The time bomb is ticking. With every second, the disaster is coming closer and closer. Unlike myself, you will have nowhere to defect to, unless you want to live in Antarctica with penguins. This is it. This is the last country of freedom and possibility.
Oh.
Yeah, you hear what he said there, ladies and gentlemen? This is the last place of freedom. There's nowhere to go from here. Like you said, to Antarctica or North Pole. There's nowhere to go. We are the last place. And the destabilization of this country is all by design. And it's happened in an accelerated state, you know. It's happening so fast, I don't know if we're going to be able to stop it. It's the United States has had its nose in so many places where it doesn't belong. You know, we've been in it, got into nation building and stuff, and all we've done is fuck the world up. Sorry to say. You know, back in the day, you know, when I was a young kid growing up, uh, you know, uh, we always called for a fair fight when we had a issue going on, you know, and A lot of times we had it that way, you know. If we had a problem with somebody, it was one-on-one, you know. And both sides, my friends would back off, and the other guy's friends would back off, and we go one-on-one, you know. But that started going away, you know, and then it ended up being gang fights and shit like that, you know. And you know, but back in the day, you know, you got your ass whooped, you accepted your ass whooping, and you went on, you know. And yeah, that thing started getting out of hand, even with that, you know. Hang on, I still got this bad habit. But the Lord and my cigarettes are the only thing that keep me sane in this insane world anymore. But like I told you in the early part of the video, you know, I'm trying to get these messages out. In the last video I put out, yeah, it was 40 minutes long. I'm trying to keep them short, but the only I had 5 views, and the retention rate was only 1 minute. So I guess maybe I'm boring y'all to death with this shit because nobody wants to pay attention. Nobody wants to pay attention to what's happening in the world, you know. Yeah, I know I'm just a old boring truck driver, you know, but I've studied a lot of this stuff so much, you know, and it's just, it is deep and it's hard for the average person to understand. And I can understand why a lot of people don't want to, you know about it, because it is gloom and doom. But how do you change it back around if we don't learn about it, if we don't stand up? You know, they say the 2 things that we shouldn't talk about is religion and politics, but it's the 2 most important things in the world to talk about, my friends. You know, for one, religion is going to dictate where you're going to go. I should say, I don't even want to say religion because, you know, religion is just an organized, it's just an organization. Faith. That's what we need. We need faith, you know, in a higher power. Mine just happens to be Jesus Christ. I don't know what yours is, and I'm not knocking you, but mine is that. You know, I started out like, I don't even remember what my higher power was when I got into Narcotics Anonymous, when I got myself clean from my drug habits, you know. And you know, I was a simpleton Democrat years ago, you know. Winston Churchill had said years ago, I don't know, a lot of you youngsters don't know who he was. He was the Prime Minister of England during World War II. And, you know, he had some mighty powerful statements that he made during that time. But he made one, and I'll quote him. He had one saying that I believe. He said that if you weren't a libertarian, or I mean a liberal, when you were 20, proved that you had no heart. But if you weren't a conservative by the time you were 40, meant you had no brain. I didn't understand that at the beginning, but after, you know, I was a Democrat and I always voted for Democrats. You know, we had a thing, you know, Democrats in the state of Minnesota where I'm from, you know, they were called the DFL, you know. And, you know, Minnesota was, you know, a blue state. I didn't think nothing of it, you know, but they always talked about how the Republicans were, you know, for the rich, you know. And I believed that, you know, because everybody I knew was a Democrat, you know. And, you know, Minnesota has good people here, you know. Yeah, they were always there to help you out, you know. And I never followed the big Democrats. I just, yeah, hey, my friends, you know, my dad was Democrat, you know, my grandpa was Democrat, you know. That's so, hey, I must be Democrat too, you know. So, but, you know, I learned over the years that it's so hard for you to leave, you know, the Democratic Party. Just like it's hard for you to become a Christian because, hey, you know, all those guys hung out together. You know, we drank and we swore and we, you know, we like chasing the women and stuff, you know. Oh, if I become a Christian, I got to give all that stuff up. I lose all my friends. But I learned that these so-called friends of yours would sell you out in a heartbeat just like that, you know. So what good was a phony friend? You know. So then one day, day of weakness, I fell on my knees and I gave my life to Christ. You know, and I'm not a very good Christian. I try to be. You know, it's like I knew so many. I don't want to call them a fake Christian, but you know, sometimes we get self-righteous, and I was one of those self-righteous Christians when I first became a Christian. And you know, I hope I'm better, you know, but every day I struggle with my faith because the world keeps attacking you, you know. Say, this whole thing up here, it remembers every single thing that happened to you, even the things that you don't pay attention to, because the mind is an amazing thing. It remembers everything, even the things that you don't pay attention to. You're walking along through the day, right? Every single noise that you heard, everything, it's in here, but you can't decipher it all because it would be too much to think about at one time. But the heart, believe it or not, your heart thinks too. It has the same thing that your brain has called neurons. And neurons are what we use up here to think. You know? That's why we have calamities going on in our body. And if we don't get them in tune, that causes a lot of illness, causes heart disease, it causes all kinds of things because, you know, something goes on, your brain's telling you to do this, and your heart's telling you, cool it, dude, slow down, slow your jelly roll, dude, you know. But the brain's going, no, 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 man, you got to do this, you know. And the heart's going, no. So the brain's pumping out all these endorphins trying to get you to, you know, do something. And your heart's going, no, no. And it's releasing endorphins to calm you down. But you let this take over because you think you got to trust this because this is where all your knowledge comes from. You don't think your heart's got any knowledge, but it does. So, you know, that's probably why I ended up with a bad heart and diabetes and all that stuff because all my shit got, you know, wackadoo. Anyways, I just wanted to bring you this video here. So I'm going to keep it short because I always run them too long. But I hope you liked the video. Hit that like button, subscribe, share. You know, you want me to talk about something, you disagree with something, put it in the comment. I'll look it up and I'll bring it up. God bless. Oh, where's that damn sub button at? There it is.